I wondered if you still held, President Zuma, I wondered if you held by your comments on Britain's colonial past, whether the British culture, as you said, is thinking that we are more superior than yours.
Can I say, in answer to the first set of questions, that we support Africa's membership of the Security Council, which will be coming up in the next few months, and we will do everything we can to help. We know how important South Africa, as I've just described, is to the workings of the G20, the workings of the Conference on Climate Change, and to all our international efforts on nuclear proliferation. And we know the important role that South Africa plays within Africa. So you can be sure that we are partners with South Africa in trying to move United Nations reform forward. On the issue that you raised, Lucy, what we're talking about is a totally abhorrent crime that happened some years ago, that still, rightly so, it disgusts and offends the British people. And I can completely understand the public outrage, even after so many years. But the public know that we cannot comment on individual cases that are going through the system. And I think the Justice Secretary explained the particular constraints in this case. But I want to be absolutely clear that what matters here is that the justice system is allowed to run its course, and that justice is done whatever wrongs are committed, but the justice system must be allowed to take the action that is necessary. That's what people would expect, and that is what's going to happen.
Well, in regard to the question which came from both of you, it was in the context of how people judge other people's cultures, and who gave authority to others to judge others. In general terms, this was a general term. I think if you talked about the media, it's not just the British media, it is the South African media as well that has views about specific things. It was in that context that we made the point. We're not necessarily trying to condemn the British or whatever. I'm sure you know that the colonial life in Africa has been viewed by Africans in a very particular way. I think we're sort of making a comment in that context.
I think the football captain's waiting, so we're going to have to close the day down.
Join us with the football captains. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So the Prime Minister and President Zuma finishing that news conference. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Lisa Holland is here. It did cover a whole lot of issues, but of course what everyone wanted to ask about was Zimbabwe. Do you think that there was any sign of any real progress that had been made there?
I think the very fact that Jacob Zuma is here, that he's putting that thought on the table, he is stressing South Africa's point, or certainly his government's position, that he believes sanctions now are not putting pressure on the regime to change itself. They are hindering any kind of progress, certainly for the coalition government within Zimbabwe. Of course, the little picture has dominated coverage of Jacob Zuma's visit here over the last few days, talking to the media about which wife he would bring. He made reference of course, to that at the end of the speech, in that I think he was not very impressed with some of the stories about the fact that he is a polygamist, the fact that he has more than one wife. We're looking here at his third wife, who he brought along. The big picture in all of this is the fact that Gordon Brown has been reiterating South Africa is a player. It has a big role to play on the world stage. It's a player in terms of climate change. It's a player in terms of nuclear non-proliferation. And clearly over the Zimbabwe issue as well. A lot of people will say that his predecessor, Thabo Mbeki, didn't do enough to move the Zimbabwe situation along. So pressure is now on Mr. Zuma to try and bring about some kind of change in terms of Zimbabwe. It's a complex issue, but at least it's been reiterated today that it is on the table.
Okay, thanks.